Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Tuesday, July 16, 2024. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Donald Trump chooses Ohio Senator J.D. Vance as his Republican running mate. How do black folks feel about him? How has he done for black folks in Ohio? We'll talk to Ohio Congresswoman Shotel Brown about this former never Trumper. President Joe Biden just finished speaking to the NAACP in Las Vegas. We'll show you what he had to say and how he made the case for voters, especially black voters, to stand with him. Also, we will talk about, of course, a bunch of the lies you heard last night at the Republican National Convention as we focus on this critical election taking place in November. It is time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
Whatever the piss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin. He's real the best, you know he's rolling Montana.
Well, there's nothing like a Donald Trump suck-up, and it's exactly what Ohio Senator J.D. Vance is. This is a man who trashed Donald Trump in the past, but now all of a sudden is his vice presidential running mate. He is an opportunist. He's also an election denier, and we can go on and on and on. But who knows better than how he is when it comes to African Americans than Ohio Congresswoman Shotel Brown. She joins us right now on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Congresswoman, glad to have you back on the show. Here's a guy who all of a sudden is deleting all sorts of videos. In fact, I saw something earlier where he's deleted his position on abortion from his website. He's trying to sit here and gaslight us.
You got that right. Listen, I think the people of Ohio have buyer's remorse. If there's ever been a time where people have regretted their decision, I think this one is it. And so when Donald Trump decided to pick J.D. Vance, I can tell you that we've experienced their efforts as what they're putting out as Donald Trump's Project 2025. Last year, when you had me on the show, we talked about Issue 1 in Ohio, which I think was really the test drive, the test case, if you will, for Project 2025. They tried to suppress, silence, and subvert the voices of the voters in August of 2023. And that was Issue 1, where they tried to eliminate a simple majority and make it so that in order to change the Constitution, you would have to have a super majority, which really means that one man, one vote would no longer be the standard in Ohio. But I am proud to say that when the people of Ohio got the information, they showed up and they showed out and they voted in record number. But that wasn't enough, Roland. That wasn't enough. They attempted to do the same thing in November when they tried to roll back women's rights and make sure that they took away the women's rights to make their own healthcare decisions. I can tell you, J.D. Vance is getting ready to put a war out on women. This is the state where we had a 10-year-old who was a rape victim that had to flee the state in order to get the care that she needed, because at the time we had not passed Issue 1. This is the state that also had the sister who had a miscarriage, a natural thing that happens to us. She had it in her bathroom over the toilet. She was charged with the abuse of a court. They want to criminalize women for natural things, for healthcare decisions, and this is what we can expect them to put forth as their plan as we talk about Donald Trump's Project 2025. So he is Donald Trump 2.0, an elections denier, as you pointed out, a misogynist, and definitely someone who does not respect women, in my humble opinion.
Train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. And Vance brought Donald Trump there to stand with him. Well, the folks at Status Quo interviewed a woman from there, and this is what she had to say about Ohio Senator J.D. Vance.
That is chemically contaminated. You've been sick. So many of you are sick. I am obviously not going to blame everything in East Palestine on J.D. Vance, but he is a U.S. Senator, and now he could be a heartbeat away from the presidency. Am I missing something? Has he called for a criminal investigation into Norfolk Southern?
No.
Go ahead.
No, he hasn't called for one. We've been waiting. Charges need criminally charged. There are other entities along with Norfolk Southern that needs criminally charged. J.D. Vance was wonderful in the beginning with coming in, sending his assistance or help, and then all of a sudden, we don't hear from him. And we ran into one of his at the NTSB hearing, but we've never heard anything from them since. And
so what does that say, Congresswoman Brown? He brings Trumps there, uses them as a photo op, and here's the woman who said, now he's MIA.
I think that is demonstrative of what we can expect from his leadership if he were able to get his hands on the most powerful seat in the country and all of the world. And I hope that the people are listening and watching and paying attention, because they are duplicitous and diabolical. They have a lot of rhetoric, but no results. Listen, when we have two things that we can compare when it comes to the top of this tickets, and that's their records. We have a Donald Trump who had 4 years of chaos and confusion, and now we have President Biden and Vice President Harris, who really made some very powerful and historic accomplishments to get this country back on track when we had a president in office while he was taking medicine to deal with his COVID. He was telling other people to drink bleach. And on the other hand, we had President Biden and Kamala Harris, who were making sure people were getting vaccinated and getting shots in the arm so we could reopen the country and get people back to work. We have the receipts for the work that we are doing, as opposed to the rhetoric and the empty promises of folks like J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. We can also talk about Donald Trump, how he talked about infrastructure week over and over again when he was in office. Well, I'm proud to say on my second day in office under the Biden-Harris administration, we were able to deliver. So now we're repairing crumbling roads, bridges, airports, waterways, removing 100% of the lead pipes, which is critically important in a city like Cleveland that has been dealing with lead devastation for decades, causing irreparable harm to some of our children and making it difficult for them to learn. In that infrastructure bill, we also provide the Affordable Connectivity Program, because we knew during the pandemic that the internet was no longer a luxury, but an absolute necessity. And because of the good work of folks like Congressman Clyburn, again, President Biden, Kamala Harris, they made sure that we were going to be able to deliver into those communities that were suffering for a long time and did not have access. And that is a record we can run on. But I know people care about the vision for the future. And the good news is President Biden and Kamala Harris have a positive plan for the future that is really going to maximize the work that they've done and leverage, because there's still more work to do. We need to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. We need to deal with the George Floyd Act. There's so many things that are going to be impactful to the Black community that is on the ballot. If we don't show up, these things will be clawed back, and we can expect the future to be much darker than what it currently is if you get a Donald Trump and J.D. Vance in office as the president and the vice president of this country.
I do have to ask you this. The DNC is looking to do a virtual roll call, and part of that is because what happened in Ohio. And even though the legislature, they changed the rule, it's been back and forth between DNC Chair Jamie Harrison and Nate Silver on social media. Nate Silver, of course, is with his 538. And so Silver said, go to my iPad, he said that Harrison was trying to gaslight people based on technicality. Ohio changed the law, and that the GOP legal case to remove the Democratic nominee from the ballot would be extremely weak. But Harrison says, look, we can't chance this because we know how these judges rule. And so Jamie is saying that the smart way is to do this to make sure that you beat the deadlines and you don't chance this thing in court. Just your thoughts on that.
I trust our chairman, and I know that as an Ohioan, we cannot trust the Republican legislature or the executive to do what's right for the rest of Ohioans, let alone the country. We saw what they did in August of 2023, really upending their own rules. They said that they would not have special elections in August, yet they did, because they thought that they could get away with suppressing, silencing, and subverting the voices of the voters by trying to pass issue 1, again, taking away that simple majority. So I cannot trust the Republicans, these extreme MAGA Republicans, I must say, to do the right thing. So I trust our chairman to do what is going to be the best course of action to ensure that we get Biden and Harris at the top of the ticket across the country.
And on that particular point, that I posted this on Twitter to Nate Silver. I'm like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? The conservatives have a majority on the state Supreme Court. I don't care. I said, first of all, you're not even a lawyer, Nate Silver. If you want to call something weak, you don't leave it to chance.
That's right.
We already saw what happened with this Trump judge in Florida on Monday. We already know what's with this right-wing Trump Supreme Court. No, you get it done. You don't go, oh, we think they're going to side with us.
That's right. And you remind me of what happened in 2016 when we talk about the vote and we talk about how people set out that election, when we had one of the most qualified candidates to ever seek the office of presidency, and by the name, her name was Secretary Hillary Clinton, who ran, who then had Trump as a candidate at that time. People were sitting at home. Some of the hemming and hawing and the waffling back and forth that I've been hearing about this 2024 election reminds me so much of 2016. And it's important that we remind people what happened during that 2016 election. We ended up with Donald Trump in the White House. And because of that, he was able to appoint not one, not two, but three right-wing activists, MAGA extreme judges who will be there for a lifetime. And they have already reversed course on precedent that had been set for decades. I will never forget June 24th, 2022. That's my birthday. Worst present that I ever got was that they overturned Roe v. Wade. So they've been chipping away at our rights since he has been office. So when we say elections have consequences, you might not feel them that year that you elect that president, but you will undoubtedly feel them down the road. And so we're here. It's like deja vu. We're back. It's 2024. And I need people to remember what happened in 2016 when they failed to show up. We got those judges on the bench that are now Donald Trump's Supreme Court. They are overturning issues as it relates to affirmative action. We've got the Chevron case, and now they've given presidents immunity, making them more like kings than presidents. And that is what happens when we don't show up and vote in these critical elections. So every year for 2016, 2020, we've said that these are the most important elections because the stakes continue to get higher and higher. But I will take a page out of my sweetheart Antoine Seawright's book and remind folks that this is the most consequential election of our lifetime and that we are casting a survivor vote. This is really about our future and our freedom because it's all on the line. All you have to do is go look at Donald Trump's Project 2025. And the thing that is most concerning, they're not even hiding it, Roland Martin. They've got it right out in the open, and they are recruiting people online so that they can end and just terminate civil service positions and put in MAGA minions and Donald Trump sycophants that will do whatever they want and cave to his will, much like we see in the duplicitous, diabolical candidate called J.D. Vance as vice president.
All right, Congresswoman Shotel Brown of Ohio. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me, Roland.
Folks, going to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Coming soon to the Black Star Network.
I still have my NFL contract in my house. Having a case. It's four of them, for my 4-year contract. I got a $600,000 signing bonus. My base salary for that first year was $150,000. Matter of fact, $150,000. $150,000. That's what I made. $150,000. Now think about it. My signing bonus was a forgivable loan, supposedly. When I got traded to the Colts, they made me pay back my signing bonus to them. I had to give them their $600,000 back. Wow. Yeah, I was so pissed. Because, I try to be a man of my word. I'm like, you, I'll give you your money back. Even though I know I earned that money, I gave them their money back. I gave them their $600,000 back. But yet, I was this malcontent. I was a bad guy. I'm about the money. It wasn't about the money. It was about doing right. Because I looked at, because you look at contract. Look at John Elway. John Elway was making $1 million, $800,000. I was making $150,000. I was doing everything. And I'm like, but yet I was, I got so many letters, so I just play for free and all that kind of stuff. You don't forget that kind of stuff. Right. That stuff is hurtful.
Sherry Shepard, and you know what you're watching, Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, let's get right to it. My panel, Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for environmental justice at the EPA. Joining us from D.C., Dr. Neon B. Carter, associate professor, University of Maryland School of Public Policy, also out of D.C. Dr. Larry J. Walker, assistant professor, University of Central Florida, joining us out of Orlando. Neon B., I'm going to start with you. I'm going to start, first of all, with what the DNC is doing. You've got a letter that some Democrats are sending saying, stop this. Don't do this roll call. It's not right. But again, what you hear from the DNC chair, Harrison, he's saying we cannot chance this by waiting for the courts. In fact, what he lays out, and again, he went back in his lengthy back and forth on social media with Nate Silver. And this is what Harrison said, because Silver called it a technicality. Go to my iPad. Harrison said, For the last few cycles, it has always been a technicality for Ohio and other states to give a waiver to the RNC and the DNC for their convention certifications. He said, for the first time ever, Ohio didn't do so. He said the DNC acted in our own best interest in May and decided to move forward with the virtual vote. The governor called a special session to address the situation. However, the Ohio GOP decided to play games, refused to pass a clean fix, and passed a bill that included a poison pill for Ohio legislative Democrats. Furthermore, they passed the bill as a non-emergency bill, which meant we have to wait 90 days for enactment, meaning the bill is not enacted until September after the original August 7th deadline. So we're supposed to rely upon the goodwill of those same people. Please don't gaslight me. He also said that he laid out in terms of the Rules Committee what they should be doing. Jamie Harrison is right. The last thing you want to do is throw this thing to the courts. And Nate Silver is even more pathetic because he actually said this here. Nor is Ohio a swing state. If Biden's name is on the ballot in Ohio and Kamala Harris in the other 49 states, it wouldn't affect his odds of winning the Electoral College one bit. The job of the DNC chair is to have his candidate on all 50 ballots. Nate Silver should shut the hell up. You on mute?
Sorry about that. I said Nate Silver has been a problem for a while. Nate Silver is one of these people who is very technically astute, but doesn't really care much, I would say, for the politics of everyday people and the lives that they have to live. And the fact of the matter is, if we have a state that can simply take someone off the ballot, this is going to be a problem for the citizens of that state. It's essentially taking away their right to vote. And if you don't think that's a problem because of what statistics tell you, then I think you need to go back and really figure out what this is about to you. I think a lot of people approach political science and politics as it's just a matter of crunching numbers, but this is real people's lives. And so whether it affects the statistical outcome or not, it doesn't really matter. What matters is the rule of law. What matters is the principle of elections and what they're supposed to be for. So if it doesn't matter to Nate Silver because his life functionally won't change because of this. It matters to the people of Ohio, however, in particular the Black folks and the Latin folks in Ohio who essentially won't get a vote that day. So this is, I think, again, politics run amok. And part of the reason why people are so confused about what to do, because they get mixed messages like this. And when you start talking about what is statistically anomalous and telling people it essentially doesn't matter, they shouldn't care, then why would anybody show up?
I mean, what's crazy here, Larry, you don't chance anything. You don't say, well, you know what? We could just, it's a weak case. We have seen weak cases where the Republican judges just took it to the hilt.
Yeah, so Roland, my colleague just made a great point. Another point, I feel like I'm reminded of Eddie Murphy who said, don't fall for a banana and tailpipe. Listen, the Republicans have been tell us who they are for the last several years. And what's happened in Ohio has been going on for the last couple of months. So the chair is right. If you sit around and wait, who knows what's going to happen? You certainly, like I said, if this goes to the courts, you already see the kind of games they're playing. The other thing, Roland, about this issue, particularly about what's happening in Ohio, is this is a snapshot of what a Trump administration will be like if he gets elected. He wins in November and they get sworn in January. And I don't think people are paying close enough attention between the rhetoric about him talking about being a dictator and then the games are being played by Republicans in the state of Ohio. They're directly connected. They're telling you now what it's going to be like under a Trump administration. And so it's going to be really important for, like I said, folks to go out and vote. The other thing is Nate is a data scientist. And so being a data scientist does not mean you are have enough background about politics to understand certainly the legal system And then secondly, understand that many of the games that are played by state and local party leaders, particularly like the GOP. So I think his opinion doesn't really matter. And the other thing is, Roland, is this, listen, once again, this is going to be like what it's going to be like living in the United States in a couple of months if people don't get out to vote. And so I know we're going to talk later about President Biden being at the NAACP convention, but it is really important, not only for Black folks and Latin folks in Ohio, but the states across the country to understand that this is the last line of defense to deal with these issues, because if not, you'll be dealing with this for years in the future, and then your grandchildren and children would ask you why. Where were you at, and why didn't you do something?
You know, the thing here, Mustafa, that is clear is when you have, first of all, Nate Silver, are you a reporter? Or like, what the hell are you? Who the hell are you to tell the DNC chair in a back and forth that he's gaslighting and they should not be doing something that they have the right to do?
Well, you know, Nate Silver has got that TV bug, right? If you have watched his evolution, then you've seen how when you say controversial things that you get more airtime. So I'm not taking anything away from him as a tactician, a statistician, you know, any of the things that are in his technical wheelhouse. But we also understand how being on mainstream media works. So we have to ask the question, is this a part of his calculus as someone who deals with numbers of being able to have more time there? You know, besides that, you know, the real question is, are people going to continue to be fooled? Because we continue to allow ourselves to say this could never happen, and then just walking down like we're walking down a dark alleyway after somebody done punched you in the head one time and saying, well, there's no way somebody gonna punch me again. With all the Supreme Court cases that we said could never possibly turn out the way that they did, and as devastating as they have. People saying, well, when they first heard about Project 2025, well, this couldn't possibly be as bad as folks on the Black Star Network have shared, or other folks. So I'm just wondering when folks are actually going to wake up and understand that there is a strategic set of actions that are being put in place. And with those strategic sets of action, there are also traps that they're hoping that you will step into, you know, with the idea that this couldn't possibly happen. I couldn't possibly get caught in this bog, if you will, that would slow a process down, stop someone from being able to vote. So we just need to kind of wake up and understand that folks have actually thought this stuff through, and there is real intentionality in the things that we're dealing with in this moment.
Well, I mean, absolutely. And, you know, as we sit here and we watch what's playing out, what people have to understand, game recognizes game, Niambi. You've got Elon Musk, who said, "Oh, I'm not going to endorse anyone. I'm not going to contribute to any campaign." Announced he's going to give $45 million a month to the Trump campaign. Now you've got billionaires, Mark Anderson, David Ben Horowitz, this Doug Leone, all of them now saying, "Oh, we're backing Trump." It's like, we see what's going on. What they want, and look, David Zaslav leads Warner Discovery. I don't care what party wins. I just simply want deregulation. They hate Biden because they've been stopping these monopolies. They've been stopping all of these mergers. These billionaires, people, everybody watching needs to understand these Silicon Valley billionaires are freaking out because the Trump tax cuts for the rich expire in January 2025. That's what this is all about.
Oh, absolutely. It's always about money. I mean, and it's not just deregulation in that sense, right? They want the right to pollute. They want the right to abuse their workers, right? They want to stop unions, all of the things that people have fought for to enjoy reasonable accommodations in their workplaces. They want to get rid of all of that. In addition, having a tax code that is very generous to them so that they can maximize their profits. It's part of the reason why we're experiencing the high prices that we're experiencing now, because big corporations are gouging us, even though they could be making different choices to stop the pain, if you will. So this is always about money, and what these people are banking on, and what we have to recognize is we don't have their billions to keep us warm at night, is that they have enough money to keep themselves insulated and safe from the shenanigans of a Trump administration, while the rest of us will suffer. And they get to enjoy more money at our expense.
You know, and again, you got this guy, Doug Leon, Sequoia Capital, all these venture capitalists. You know, we know what they're doing. We know what's going on here. And so now all of this shift that's going on here. And that's also what's happening on the Democratic side, Larry. You've got Adam Schiff, who's gotten called out because at a fundraiser, he privately said to the folks that, hold on one second. So Adam Schiff at this fundraiser, he with Biden at the top, he says that, now again, go to my iPad. He was speaking to donors. He said the party's going to suffer major losses with Biden at the top, and they're going to lose the House, they're going to lose the Senate. They're talking only to donors. They're not talking to the base. They're not talking to regular average people. These donors, these Democratic donors are also rich people. So we see what's going on here. They want to control the process. And here's the thing, Larry. Jonathan Alter posted something on his social media where he was like, I don't know what Democrats are doing. You know, they're sitting here just trying to lose this race. And any young candidate can run and win. Guess what? They never name the young candidate. Mm-hmm. They never name how they're going to put together a national campaign on the fly in a matter of weeks. They can't explain the infrastructure. They can't explain how to raise money. But in their minds, oh, there's this magical, mystical, young, progressive Democrat out there that can win, but they never want to name them because the whole goal is not just to get rid of Joe Biden, it's to get rid of Vice President Kamala Harris.
You hit it right on the nose, Roland. And, you know, I know you've been highlighting this point, and I also made this point to various platforms. And people, this is not time to play musical chairs. It's July. It is too late in the game to consider changing, to having, you know, President Biden not run at the top of the ticket. And you also make a really important point as we talk about how race and gender intersect, and also getting rid of VP Harris. And it's just not realistic with considering we just talked about Ohio and some of the other state guidelines. It is time for Democrats to join together and support the ticket to make sure that the Biden-Harris administration win. The other point you highlighting, Roland, and I think we talk a lot about Democrat and Republican parties, and, you know, obviously there are differences in policies. But we also want to highlight whether someone like George Clooney or other rich individuals. There are a lot of rich white male donors in both parties who have certain ideas about what the party should look like. We heard Carvell several weeks ago make disparaging comments about what the Democratic Party looks like as it relates, particularly issues relating, policy issues and how he sees women. So we have to be aware of, first of all, the views of these individuals, and also highlight that Black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party. And so if you ignore them, particularly, like I said, ask President Biden to drop out and then ignore that VP Harris, then what you'll have is a civil war within the Democratic Party, which I know you've also talked about. But this idea that, once again, that President Biden is going to drop out and you're going to choose some imaginary, white male candidate, because that's really what we're talking about here, it's not going to happen. And Black folks are not going to sit back and allow it to happen. The last point, Roland, I want to make is raised to President Biden is, in my opinion, once the CBC said that they were going to support him, in my opinion, this conversation was over. The CBC now is as highest number as ever been. is powerful. The minority leader is a member of the CBC, along other members who hold key positions. So in my opinion, once they made it clear they were going to support him and they hold significant power in the caucus, that he was going to continue to be the representative.
I've asked this of John Favreau, Tommy Vietor, David Axelrod, Jonathan Alter, to Julian Castro, to numerous people. I keep saying, name me the candidate who y'all want to replace Biden. There's never a name. There's never a name. In fact, CNN had a story that says prominent Democratic pollster Stan Greenberg has been running the polling data. And here's the headline right here. Private efforts to nudge Biden to step aside continue. And so they go in here and they say, Democratic pollster Stanley Greenberg shared his take that Biden is on track to lose the election in a way that does deep damage to other Democratic candidates. We'll lose everything. It's going to be devastating. Guess what? Stan Greenberg is a business partner with James Carville. Stan Greenberg and James Carville, they're talking about got to replace Biden. They never name anyone. Again, no board of directors fires the CEO and you not already have his or her replacement in line. Mm-hmm. You don't do it. You can't show me no smart university fires the president and not already have the interim tab to take over. Mm-hmm. No television network fires an anchor and not have the replacement in place. So it is dumb to go, let's get rid of plan A and we'll figure out plan B. You are literally inviting chaos. Now, I would suggest, Mustafa, that if these same Democrats had spent the last 18 days with their sight and focus on Trump and MAGA and Predator 225 and not Biden, it might be a different conversation. Republicans don't even have to criticize Biden because you've got a handful of Democrats who are doing the job.
Well, you know, privilege is addictive. And privilege also tells you that you know more than everybody else. And I'm not a pollster. I'm just a country boy. So what I usually do is I pick up the telephone and talk to folks. Now, I've worked in over 1,000 communities, the majority of them inside of our country. So I just pick up the phone and call folks. I guess maybe I am a pollster and I just don't know it. And I just ask them simple questions about who is it that you're thinking about and why are you thinking about them? And who is it that you're not thinking about and why you're not thinking about? Now, some folks may only know one or two folks, but they know the reason why they're considering voting for that individual. And I'm always amazed by these pollsters who I'm like, do you have any relationships with folks so that they actually tell you how they really feel about something? And I talk to black folks and brown folks and lower wealth white folks and indigenous folks and sometimes some other folks that are part of the mix of groups that I've worked with over the years. And none of them, except for I think there was just maybe I would say about 4 or 5% that actually said that they were hoping that there would be a change at the top from what's currently going on. Now, I put that in perspective because, it's not like I'm talking to 100,000 people or something like that, but it is a cross-section of America, both folks who live in urban communities and rural communities. And I'm very clear with what they've shared with me. I did not try and lead them in any direction. I just wanted to listen. So I don't know where these individuals, whether in Washington, D.C. or in New York or California, are getting their information that the vast majority of people across the country are looking for this big change. What does happen is folks will share with me, well, I keep hearing on TV that everything is messed up. So maybe I should be thinking a little bit differently, but I'm still locked in with the individual whom, that I gave my vote to last time and who I'm interested this time. So, I'm not sure how they do it, but I am very clear that we have very wealthy people who continue to place profit over people, even if it doesn't make any sense. Because as both the other esteemed doctors have shared, they're going to be all right. The question is, are we going to be all right? And if we allow ourselves to continue to deal with this chaos and confusion that some folks are doing intentionally and others because they caught up in the mix, then you're going to lose. But if you get out there and do the damn work and make sure you're knocking on the door and you make sure you're highlighting the differences between the two major candidates, then everything going to turn out all right. But if you're not willing to do that work, we all know what's going to play out.
Absolutely. All right, folks, going to go to break. We come back. We'll continue our conversation here. But before I go to break, I love these billboards that are going around Milwaukee. Check this out. Check this out. Absolutely right. He will be a dictator on day one. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. So you're checking money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
On the next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie. People can't live with them, can't live without them. Our relationships often have more ups and downs than a boardwalk roller coaster, but it doesn't have to be that way.
Trust your gut. Whenever your gut is like, this isn't healthy, this isn't right, I don't like the way that I'm being treated. This goes for males and females. Trust your gut, and then whenever that gut feeling comes, have a conversation.
Knowing how to grow or when to go. A step-by-step guide on the next A Balanced Life on Black Star Network.
Good job, good pay, good life. Would you be willing to walk away from it to achieve real wealth? Well, that's exactly what this woman did. And boy, did it pay off.
Once you make the decision that this is the direction that you're going to go in, I do believe that there's power in having a decided heart.
Hear her story on The Next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, on Black Star Network.
Coming up on The Next Black Table, a conversation with Professor Howard W. French on his new book, Born in Blackness, covering 600 years of global African history and helping us understand how the world we know today is a gift from Black people.
There could have been no West without Africa and Africa.
That's on The Next Black Table with me, Greg Carr, only on the Black Star Network.
The new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. In a few moments, there's going to be this economic summit conversation taking place in Las Vegas with President Joe Biden, Congressional Black Caucus Chair Steven Horsford. It popped up a few moments ago, and so we're waiting for them to go back live to that particular feed. So let's do this here. Earlier, President Joe Biden spoke to the NAACP, and here is some of what he had to say.
NAACP. And I am all in. My word, I am all in. President Johnson, thanks for the introduction and for your leadership, most of all for your friendship. And thanks to all the thousands of members across America that are here. One of the most important organizations in our country. And a special thanks, I mean it sincerely, to the members of Congress who are here, including Nevada's own Steven Horsford, chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. I don't know where he is, but I know he's out there. As so many members of the CBC members defending freedom, like Benny Thompson of Mississippi, chair of January 6th committee. And the best friend anyone can have, Jim Clyburn of South Carolina. In case you didn't notice, Jim turned it around for me in 2020. Look, in June of 1947, Harry Truman became the first president to speak at this convention. And he was remembered for a lot of things. With the help of the NAACP, he desegregated the military. He laid the groundwork for the civil rights agenda. And he built upon President Kennedy by that. President Johnson, who signed the Civil Rights Act of '64, 60 years ago. Harry Truman was president, who was often counted out, but is also known for something else. The story goes, Truman said, if you want a friend in Washington, get a dog. Well, guess what? After the last couple of weeks, I know what he means. But that's why it's so good to have real friends. I'm not being solicitous. I have real friends. So many of you had my back, and I think I've had yours as well. And I will never forget it. Got a couple Delaware folks here still. And one of my best friends, when I was a lifeguard in the projects, he was, his nickname is Mouse. Mousy, there you are, pal. End up running longshoreman, and loyal as hell. I'm truly honored to be here, to meet at this tense moment in this country, and it is a tense moment. Just a few days after the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, we're grateful he was not seriously injured. We continue to pray for him and his family. It's time for an important conversation in this country. Our politics has gotten too heated. I've said the Oval Office on Sunday night, as I made clear throughout my presidency, we all have a responsibility to lower the temperature and condemn violence in any form. You've got to remember, in America, we're not enemies, we're friends, we're neighbors, we're fellow Americans. Most importantly, must fully and firmly reject not only political violence, but violence of any kind, period, no exceptions. We have to say with one voice that violence is not the answer. That's what we should rally around as a nation. That's the unity I'm talking about. Few organizations know that better than the NAACP. For the race riots in Springfield, Illinois in 1908, the NAACP was formed. That's what started it. You know the pain and the price of violence. You understand if you're going to talk about standing against violence, you must stand against all violence. We must stand against violence perpetrated against presidential candidates in Pennsylvania. We must stand against all violence. The violence perpetrated against George Floyd in Minnesota. Against black veterans like police officers Eugene Goodman on January 6th. And black election workers like Ruby Freeman and Shane Moss in Atlanta. We have to stand against the violence and intimidation of white supremacy that murdered innocent lives in that grocery store in Buffalo, New York when I went up there. Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston, South Carolina was standing against the violence that murdered children in Sandy Hook and Uvalde. Concert goers in Las Vegas. Innocents on the street all across America that never make the news. There's Uvalde every day in the communities across the country. If you're going to be outspoken on one, don't be silent on others. If we're going to speak about violence, we're going to speak about guns. More children in America die of a gunshot wound than any other reason. That's stunning and that is sick. And it's sheer cowardness if we do nothing about it. So, if you want to stand against violence in America, then join me in getting these weapons of war off the streets of America. An AR-15 was used in the shooting of Donald Trump, just as it was an assault weapon that killed so many others, including children. It's time to outlaw them. I did it once and I will do it again. Now, just because we must lower the temperature in our politics and relate to violence, it doesn't mean we should stop telling the truth. Who you are, what you've done, what you'll do, that's fair game. As Harry Truman said, I've never given anyone hell. I just told the truth and they thought it was hell. That's what I'm going to do. Well, here's the truth about why Donald Trump's presidency was hell for Black America. He tried to repeal Obamacare to kick millions, I mean millions of Black Americans off their health insurance. He had a $2 trillion tax cut that overwhelmingly benefited the super wealthy, the biggest corporations, and exploded the federal debt larger than any one president has in one term. He left no room for us to do what we should be doing. Invest in things that affect people's lives, like child care, elder care, and so much more that grow the economy and help people. His mismanagement of the pandemic was especially devastating to Black communities. Oh, I know, because in other countries, other communities of color. That economic crisis drove up Black unemployment, decimated small Black businesses, and you peacefully protested George Floyd's murder. Donald Trump called for the National Guard to go after you. What in the hell's the matter with this man? No, I'm serious. Go figure. From a guy who spread the birthism lie against Barack Obama, saying he wasn't born in America and he wasn't a U.S. citizen. Of course, here's what he thinks of black jobs. I love his phrase, black jobs. It tells a lot about the man and about his character. Folks, I know what a black job is. It's a vice president of the United States. I know what a black job is. The first Black president in American history, Barack Obama. I was vice president to Barack, and she is my vice president. I nominated the first Black Secretary of Defense in American history. He's doing one hell of a job. I nominated the first Black woman to the United States Supreme Court. It mattered. It mattered. And I promised myself, and I promised America, that my administration would look like America. And I'm proud that we have the most diverse administration in all of history that taps into the full talents of our nation. That's who we are. These guys don't get it. That's why we're so successful. No, I'm serious. That's what makes us the greatest nation on earth. That's not hyperbole. Folks, it's because of you that I'm president and Kamala Harris is vice president. And by the way, she's not only a great vice president, she could be president of the United States. Thank you. With the help of the NAACP, the Black elected members in the Congress, we've gotten so much done. Seriously. Presidential historian said we've gotten more done of consequence than any president since Franklin Roosevelt. Just think about where the Black community was when I came into office. Think about how far the Black community has come. But we still got a long way to go. COVID no longer controls our lives. Our economy is not figuratively, literally, the strongest economy in the world. Historic low Black unemployment, record growth in Black small businesses, Let me say this again, because Trump is lying like hell about it. The black unemployment hit a record low under Biden-Harris administration. The first bill I passed, we put $1,400 checks plus $300 checks per child, per family, per month in the pockets of people in this country to get them through the pandemic. Not Trump's administration. Kamala and I did that. We put more money in the pockets of than anyone. We cut black, and the consequence, we cut black child poverty in half. And what we're finally getting through to people, my economic policy grows the economy when we spend money. Grows it. We grew the American economy to the strongest in the world. And I'm determined to make that tax cut permanent. No child should ever go hungry in America. And by the way, all the data shows is they can't let them tell us we drive up deficits. They drive up deficits, folks. When you have child care, guess what? Mom or dad can work. And the child can be safe. We're connecting black neighborhoods that were cut off with old highways and disinvestment decades ago. My city, Wilmington, Delaware, I-95 runs up through what used to be the black community, divided it, 6 lanes wide. We're going to make sure that the states want it. We're going to be able to pave over at the top of that and still have the highway. Connecting neighborhoods. We're removing, which is costly, every poisonous lead pipe in a house in America so every child can drink clean water without fear of brain damage. We're delivering high-speed and affordable broadband. No child should have to sit out in the parking lot with their moms in front of a McDonald's so they can get online to do their homework. And because of you, we're not only protecting Obamacare, you allowed me to increase it, making health care more affordable. We're putting, and by the way, more than it's ever been, millions of African Americans now have health care because of what we've done. We're putting home ownership within reach. How do you generate generational wealth, no matter what community you're from? I know how we did it when everything got stuck in Scranton and we no jobs. Moved to Delaware. Dad worked like hell till he could get down payment to buy a small house. That's how you build equity. As small as a 3-bedroom split-level home with 4 kids and a grandpa living with us. But it was a home, and he was able to build some equity. Look, we're making the most significant investment in climate ever in all of history. Including most significant action on environmental justice ever. Look, folks, think about this. My state of Delaware, if you know, not many don't know my state. My state of Delaware has a Delaware River runs up along, as jagged. But at the top of the state, there's a half moon. And it goes up along more oil refineries on the other side of that half moon in Marcus-looking areas than anywhere in the country, including Houston. And guess what? The wind blows southeast. We had the highest cancer rate for the longest time. But you know who's affected? Fence line communities. You know who the fence line communities are? Black communities. And I promised, as we make this legislation work, we're going to take care of those communities first. First. I mean it. Same way in Louisiana, same way in other places. Look, we've received student debt for more than 4 million borrowers. A significant amount are black borrowers. I don't know how many have called me, say, Mr. President, or God, I've gotten phone numbers, I've called them back. Mr. President, thank you. I couldn't get married. My debt was so large. I couldn't have children. I couldn't think of, no, I'm serious, you know it. Couldn't buy a home. But what you did, you freed me of my debt, and you gave me $10,000 for a down payment in a home. And this project, 2024, 2025, Trump's deal, You know, he talks about education. HBCUs are as good as any other university. Guess what the problem is? No, I'm serious. Not a joke. And Kamala and I have a constant fight. She says Howard's the best. I said Delaware State's the best. But that's where I got my start. But my point is this. They don't have the endowment. So what are the jobs of the future? The high-tech jobs of the future. You're going to pay a lot of money. They don't have the money for the laboratories. They don't have the money for all that material. So that's why I've invested a record $16 billion in HBCU. There's no HBCU student is any less qualified than any student anywhere else. And by the way, we're making sure that no one goes to jail for the mere use or possession of marijuana. The record should be expunged. It holds them back. All told, because of you, the NAACP, we're making the most significant investments in Black America ever in all of history. We're seeing the results. The racial wealth gap is the lowest it's been in 20 years. Inflation is down in 3 years and coming down further, and we're going to have, as they say, a soft landing. Folks, you're going to see us grow faster and faster. That's not just my view. It's the view of 16 Nobel Prize-winning economists who put out a statement looking at my economic plan and Trump's. They said, my plan will continue to lower inflation, continue to grow the economy. Prices are falling for cars, appliances, and groceries. We're going to keep corporate greed at bay. But here's the thing, what it said about Trump. They said, his policies will cause a recession. No, and by the way, these are not a Democratic outfit. 16 Nobel laureates. Look, I come from the corporate state of the world, Delaware. I know how they work. There's more corporations incorporated in my state than any state in America, all combined. But that's what? We have to deal with corporate greed now. No, it is. Corporate profits are double since the pandemic. And they keep bringing prices down. We have to bring prices down further. Look, folks, the idea that corporate-owned housing is able to raise your rent $300-400 a month or something, under what I'm about to announce, they can't raise it more than $55. That debate is taking place. The bottom line is we're just getting started. Well, no, it's not enough to talk about the past. We need a vision for the future. Here's my plan for the first 100 days of a second term. Kamala and I are calling on Congress to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. I did all that I was constantly able to do with executive authority, but we need the act. And we need to pass the Freedom to Vote Act. And I'll sign them both into law immediately. And guess what? Come hell or high water, we're going to restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land. I know you say, Joe, you may not have a Congress. Well, guess what? You all told me I couldn't pass the Inflation Reduction Act. You all told me I couldn't face it. Anyway, we did it with your help. Republicans blocked police reform in Congress. So I signed a historic executive order on police reform. I'm going to come back and we'll sign George Floyd and Policing Act into law come hell or high water. Not only going to stop MAGA Republicans, going to stop them in their program on 2025. We're going to stop them from cutting Social Security and Medicare. I'm going to expand Social Security and Medicare by making the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. We're going to bring rents down, as I said. We're going to build 2 million affordable homes and cap rent increases of 5% a year so corporate landlords can't gouge. Anyway, I don't want to get going. I'm going to get very upset. But they're just gouging Americans. And we're going to keep relieving student debt. And we're going to end medical debt. We've already made sure medical debt can no longer be put on a credit report. Well, I'm working with states to wipe out medical debt for pennies on the dollar so it's not hanging over you the rest of your life. We're going to raise the federal minimum wage. Our first term, we capped the cost of insulin for seniors at $35. Total drug costs for seniors, beginning in 2024-5, at $2,000 and some of those cancer drugs are $10,000, $12,000, $14,000 a year. But the second term, we're going to do that for not just seniors, for everyone in America. And by the way, not only saves lives, it will save taxpayers, just what I did on the first round on dealing with Medicare. It saves the taxpayer $160 billion because they don't have to pay these exorbitant prices to these, anyway. This year, Medicare is negotiating lower prices for some of the costliest drugs on the market. That treats everything from heart disease to arthritis. In the next term, we want to go further, give Medicare the power to negotiate lower prices for 50 drugs a year, not 10. That not only saves lives, it's estimated to save the taxpayer another $200 billion a year. This is saving taxpayers money. By the way, if you notice, all the stuff they said, big spend in Biden, we have lowered the deficit, not raised it. We've increased economic growth. Folks, here's what else I'm determined to do. I'm determined to end Trump's tax cuts for the very wealthy and big corporations and make the tax code fair and ease the burden on working people. I kept my commitment that no one making less than $400,000 I never saw in my life till I got elected president will pay a penny more in federal taxes. But here's the deal. We have in America, since the pandemic, 1,000 billionaires. 1,000. You know how much in federal tax they pay? 8.2%. That's their federal tax, 8.2%. We're going to make billionaires pay a minimum of 25%, which is low. No billionaire should pay a lower tax rate than a teacher, a firefighter, a nurse, a janitor. That's simply ridiculous. And when we do that, that alone will generate $500 billion in revenue over the next 10 years, allowing us to lower costs for families and save the government.
President Biden's speech. You can go to our Black Star Network app or our YouTube channel. You can see the rest right now live in Las Vegas. Congressman Steven Horsford, chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, is speaking at this economic summit conversation. Let's go live right now.
Doing everything right to feel like you're not getting ahead. But because you voted, this diverse district delivered. And we came through for President Biden in 2020. We delivered with large margins, giving him Nevada, earning him Nevada, and its 6 electoral votes. And because of you, the President and Vice President Kamala Harris delivered. It's because of you that we got COVID relief, infrastructure, the Inflation Reduction Act, capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. It's because of you that we reduced child poverty by 50%. And it's because of you that we fought for and won meaningful climate action, the first bipartisan gun safety legislation in decades, and student debt relief. And the list goes on and on. And today is no exception. Because of you, President Biden is here to share some more good news. Just this morning, the White House announced that our application that was developed and submitted by our community was selected for $50 million in funding for Marble Manor.
All right, folks, we're going to do a split screen here. We're going to keep that going. We're going to wait to see if President Biden speaks. I'm going to go to my panel here. I'm going to start with you, Larry. You heard what the president said there. Very vigorous, talking about what he accomplished for Black America, what he laid out in the speech to the NAACP, Donald Trump could never say. And you also notice Donald Trump has no plans and will not be at the NAACP convention in Las Vegas. I doubt he'll be at the National Urban League next week or the National Bar Association or any other Black convention.
Roland, I don't even know if former President Trump knows what NAACP means, right? So, he's not going to be there because we obviously made the joke, and President Biden certainly made an excellent point about what Black jobs, that comment that former President Trump made about Black jobs. But listen, President Biden and VP Harris have a comprehensive record of addressing issues that have impacted the Black community. I think people really don't understand in terms of, first of all, the forgiving student loans. I know a number of friends who had their student loans forgiven. And this was how you build Black wealth, because Black people are more likely to incur debt because we come from underserved communities, but underinvested. So the student loan forgiveness alone has had a huge impact on people that I know. They can now buy homes, they can invest in land, they can send their kids to college and make other important investments. So that by itself is critically important. Roland, we also have to talk about the Infrastructure Act and the CHIPS and manufacturing, science and manufacturing bill. All these bills lead to stimulating the economy. So we also have to make the mention, as President Biden talked about, in April of last year, we had the lowest unemployment rate ever recorded by the Department of Labor. This is critically important, as we just remember a few years ago how high the unemployment rate was during COVID and after COVID. In addition to that, the Biden administration has made it a priority to make sure that the resources come from the federal government to make sure there are more Black-owned businesses. So he obviously has a lot of clear points he made, and they're very important in this election year.
Let's go back to Las Vegas right now.
Protect the progress that we've made and build on it. Together, we can build an economy that works for everyone. And together, we can protect our freedoms, our rights, and our opportunities for generations to come. Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed my honor. Please join me in welcoming our President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you, Stephen, for hosting this summit. You're a good friend, and I'm always grateful for your leadership, and I mean that sincerely. And thanks to all of you for being here. You're part of an economy that I've always believed in, and we're finally building. The days of failed trickle-down economics are over. We're building an economy from the middle out and the bottom up, so that when that happens, the middle class does well, the poor have a shot, and the wealthy still do very well. We're also proving that Wall Street didn't build America. The middle class built America, and unions built the middle class. And our plan is working. For example, my administration announced today that Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority and the City of Las Vegas will receive, as pointed out, $50 million grant, allowing the city to renovate and build hundreds of affordable housing units. Invest in early learning, which studies show increase the prospects of 3 and 4 and 5 years old being able to finish high school and go all the way down to community college. To continue to support small businesses. Small business makes up half the economy, not just the Fortune 500. Small business makes up half the economic growth in America. I want to thank Steven for his leadership on all of this. It grows the economy. It's what we've been doing from the start. We inherited a pandemic, an historic economic crisis. As soon as I came to office, I signed the American Rescue Plan to turn things around. For example, it funded $1 billion for Nevada to help boost affordable housing, help 8 million families avoid foreclosure and eviction, stay in their home when they're little or no income, in the depths of the pandemic. And now, 8,000 new homes are being built across Clark County for families, seniors, and veterans. This grows the economy. It grows the economy. But that's not all. We're continuing to take corporate greed, take it on, getting our rents down. On my watch, America has been building more houses and apartments than any time during the Trump presidency. And Steven's help, a few months ago, I came here to Nevada and announced the boldest housing plan in a generation to make housing more affordable for working families. And that includes building 2 million more homes, providing $10,000 tax credit for middle-class families buying their first home with incomes under $200,000 a year. It's going to help lower housing costs. It's going to help people start to build wealth. Today, my administration is sending a very clear message to the corporate landlords. We are going to cap rent increases at no more than 5% a year, period. We're letting them know if they abuse the system, you'll lose valuable federal tax breaks. We also just announced a new initiative to repurpose federal land that we no longer need to build affordable housing. Here in Nevada, that would support 15,000 or more affordable homes. It matters. This matters. As soon as we came to office, we also changed the way the Paycheck Protection Act worked under my predecessor. When he favored big businesses to qualify over mom and pop businesses, we moved women and minority-owned businesses and small businesses to the front of the line instead of keeping them at the back of the line, as my predecessor did. This grows the economy. We increase funding for Minority Business and Development Agency, which my predecessor tried to eliminate. By increasing funding, we can help even more entrepreneurs from underserved communities grow and expand their business. We're increasing the share of federal contract dollars going to small or disadvantaged businesses from 10% to 15% of all the funding that's available. And this grows the economy. In addition, we're relieving student debt for borrowers across Nevada. The Supreme Court blocked my original plan to help more than 40 million working and middle-class American students get relief, but they couldn't stop me. For example, I took the existing loan forgiveness program for public servants, teachers, nurses, firefighters, police, etc., and made it work. Which says that if you work for 10 years in those professions and you paid what you owed for your student loan, at the end of 10 years, it's wiped out. This is good for the economy because it helps folks who are doing the right thing and finally be able to start businesses, start families, start homes, build generational. I don't know how many letters I've gotten from into the White House. Dear Mr. President, my student debt hung over me like a lead balloon. It kept me from being able to get married. It kept us from being able to have a child. I wasn't able to even begin to buy a home. And this has all changed. People just want a shot. But take a close look at what Trump and the MAGA Republicans are proposing in Trump's Project 2025. They'd cut off funding for all Hispanic saving institutions, all Hispanic serving institutions, including community colleges like the College of Southern Nevada, where we're here today. They would repeal my bipartisan infrastructure law that's already invested $3.7 billion for Nevada right here in this state, like America's first high-speed rail line. That's going to take you from Las Vegas to Los Angeles in 2 hours. Great, over 30,000 jobs, and guess what? Save billions of tons because of pollution. Because people, all the studies show, you can get from point A to point B in a train or a vehicle the same distance, you take the train. We'll also invested $90 billion to replace poisonous lead pipes here in Nevada. So every child can turn on a faucet and drink clean water without fear of getting brain damage because of what's going on. We're doing the same thing by delivering affordable high-speed broadband to every Nevadan. Remember how Trump promised Infrastructure Week? Every week for 4 years? He didn't build a damn thing. Nothing. Now his Project 2025 repeals all we're doing. That's what he wants to do. The bottom of the line is this. Because Trump failed in handling the pandemic, lives were lost, and our economy tanked. And now we're back. Jobs are up. Wages are up. Tourism is back. The economy is growing. Inflation is down and continues to go down. And 16 Nobel laureates last week put out a paper saying that American economy is going to grow under me and inflation will continue to go down. But they say under Trump's plan, these same economists say we'll fall into recession and inflation will be badly damaged hardworking Americans. In fact, Trump's calling for a 10% tariff on everything imported to America, including basic necessities like fruits, vegetables, coffee, and more. The economists tell us his plan would cost working families a new tax of $2,500 a year. We can't let that happen. And by the way, these aren't liberal economists. These are Wall Street Journal economists. These are economists from the major institutions in America. We have to do more. That's why I'm determined to finish this job. Look, let me tell you my 100-day agenda, and I'm not going to keep it real long. We're going to make sure you own more and you owe less. That means we're going to keep relieving student debt. We're going to end medical debt. We've already made sure medical debt can no longer be put on a credit report. We also work with states to wipe out medical debt for pennies on the dollar. We're going to raise the federal minimum wage. We're going to pass the PRO Act and end union busting once and for all. As was mentioned, we capped the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month. And total drug costs beginning in January, total drug costs of $2,000 a year, no matter how much they spend. Because a lot of them now need cancer drugs, need heart medicines. They range from anywhere from $2,000 a year to $4,000 a year to $10,000 to $12,000. The second term, we're going to make sure that's not only exists, but for every single American, every American. Folks, and it's not going to cost the government money. It saves the government money. By the way, these reforms save the lives of taxpayers, but they also save the government, just what we've done so far, $160 billion savings. And people don't focus on it, but here's the deal. Instead of Medicare having to pay out $400 for insulin, the Medicare only has to pay out $35. It just is a giant savings. This year, Medicare is negotiating lower prices for some of the costliest drugs in the market. Treat everything from heart disease to arthritis. The next term, want to go further and give Medicare the power to negotiate lower prices for 50 drugs a year for the next 10 years. That'll not only save lives, it will save the taxpayers another estimated $200 billion. But get this, Trump would give the power back to Big Pharma to charge whatever they want. He also wants to terminate, I love his phrasing, terminate the Affordable Care Act, which means the average family would pay $13,000 more a year for health care because guess what? They can't get coverage if they don't have the Affordable Care Act because they may have a pre-existing condition. That means 3 million black Americans, 4 million Latinos, 1 million Asian Americans will be robbed of their health care coverage. Look, I'm taking the most significant action ever on climate. That includes bringing relief to millions of suffering from the biggest weather killer of all in America, extreme heat. I must tell you, this surprised me when I learned it about 8 months ago. If you add up hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, everything, more people die from extreme heat than all those other natural events combined. And look what it costs. It costs money for people to have air conditioning. It costs money for people to have the ability to turn on what they need. Meanwhile, Trump says he doesn't believe climate change is real. Maybe you should step out here in Vegas. Well, it's 120 degrees in his bare feet. Look, we're going to end Trump's... I don't want to get going here. We're going to end Trump's tax cuts for the very wealthy and big corporations so they start paying their fair share. I kept my commitment so no one could say I was going after people with money. I kept my commitment that no one making less than $400,000 a year would pay a single penny more in federal taxes. There are 1,000 billionaires in America. Right now, you know what their average cost of how much they pay in federal taxes? 8.2%. 8.2%. I'm going to make sure billionaires have to pay a minimum of 25%, which isn't even the highest bracket. No billionaire should pay a tax rate lower than a teacher, a firefighter, a nurse, someone working like a belt. You know what that one thing will do when we get it done? It will generate $500 billion in revenues over the next 10 years. Allowing us to do more for child care, elder care, bring down the federal deficit, so much more. And by the way, what happens when people don't have to worry about what's going to happen to the child if they go to work? They have child care. The economy grows. It grows. It grows. I signed the American Rescue Plan into law in the months of coming to office. I put $1,400 checks into pockets, expanded child tax credit, sending $300 checks per child, per family, per month into the pockets to help them get through this pandemic. I cut child poverty in half for black families, Latinos, and Asian and tribal communities. Republicans let it expire. I want to reinstate and make the child care tax credit permanent. Permanent. There's so much more I want to say to you, I'm resisting. I'm told I should shorten this up a little bit. Let me close with this. I look at all of you, I see your talent, your dedication. Most of all, I see the dignity of your work. That's what I can honestly say. Honest to God, I've never been more optimistic about America's prospects than I am now. Never. We just have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America. There is nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together and work together. And that's what we're going to do. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Folks, you were just watching President Joe Biden there speaking at the Prosperity Summit there in Las Vegas, put together by Congressman Steven Horsford. I'm going to go to Niambi Carter. Niambi, again, we heard what the president laid out there. We heard what he laid out in the NAACP speech. Again, as I'll say, you can have that minstrel show at the Republican National Convention, having them roll out DEI Monday, having the chick with the tattoo stamped on her forehead speak, who's irrelevant, as well as them other black Republicans. But out of all of those speeches last night, Mark Robinson, Tim Scott, John James, all of them, you did not hear anything specific to black America. Niambi, you keep hitting that mute button.
Sorry, the only appeal that's significant that they can make to Black America is that we're different, but they haven't done anything. I mean, the only thing that's really in the offing is ending all of the things that Joe Biden was talking about are things that Black people really care about, like the earned income tax credit, like student loan forgiveness. And I, like Larry was just talking about, I'm one of those student loan forgiveness people. So I really appreciate the Biden administration this go round. That's something very tangible in our hands. The cost of medication. I had a mother who was diabetic. That is important when we're talking about people on fixed incomes and their daily life being affected in really significant and tangible ways. There is nothing that any of these people have besides the fact that they're Black. That's the only reason they're included at the RNC. And I think the idea, and I think this is why it gets really insulting and why you need the Biden administration to keep making speeches like this and to keep talking about this record, is because all of these people are there to say, trust us, it's going to be better, it's going to be different. Well, we had 4 years of Donald Trump and nothing of any purchase happened for Black America. And when we think about what the recovery has looked like, I think we can all say that in varying ways, things have trended in an upward direction. It doesn't that everything is shared equally across our communities. There are still significant gaps in terms of class, et cetera. But to say that the world does not look better now than it did at the end of 2020, I think is objectively not true. And whether we're talking about the money that we have in our pockets today because of things like public service.
Niambi, your
jobs reports that have steadily been trending upward. We can all say that things are better now.
Sorry, your signal was freezing there on us. Mustafa, look, when you look at policies, Donald Trump, if he gets in, he is going to try to claw back that $167 billion from student loan savings. That's going to happen. You read Project 2025. They want to end overtime. They want to do so many things that impact working people. I don't know what people out there are thinking. If there's somebody who's undecided, they need to understand this Trump gets in, they want to deregulate. They want to let these companies do whatever when it comes to our air, our water, our land. I mean, it is going to be, and the Supreme Court has already weighed in with a Chevron decision. These people are going to let corporate greed run amok. And if you are not in the top 1% to 2%, you are screwed.
Well, you know, when you look at Project 2025, when you look at Agenda 47, which is the other part that Trump and Vance and them are trying to move forward, and the two come together, you begin to have a clearer picture about who is sacrificable in America and who will be the beneficiaries of these policies. When you look at our community, you know, folks should be able to take the Republican and Democratic label off and just look at the sets of policies that each one is proposing. Trump is supposed to be an expert when it comes to housing and real estate. But if you go back and you take a look at the cuts that he made over $9 billion in his budget cuts there in relationship to housing. So when we look at some of the problems, and I'm not going to put all the problems on him, but when you look at affordable housing and you see that HUD, Housing and Urban Development, was slashed when he was there, and then you see the sets of investments that the Biden administration is making, then it makes you wonder. Then you overlay that, Roland, with what you just shared about Project 2025, which wants to weaken federal agencies. Then you overlay it with what's happened in the Supreme Court with the Chevron decision, you know, taking power away from those federal agencies that are supposed to, they have the responsibility of helping to make our lives better. Then you understand sort of this playbook that's out there. So whether it's education, whether it is the cleaning up, as you heard the president share, around lead pipes or cleaner air or a number of different things that are there, or healthcare, then you have a pretty clear message that you have one administration that is focused on trying to make sure you're no longer sacrificed, that you no longer live in sacrifice zones, that you actually can move from surviving to thriving. And you have another administration that has not shown any policies that benefit the Black community. So as many other folks have said, I'm baffled by individuals who say that, one, I'm not going to vote, or two, I'm going to vote for somebody who is literally trying to make sure that my family doesn't have the ability to be able to thrive. So it is a choice. We live in a democracy, but it makes you question, do you really love Black people if you're willing to vote for somebody who you know is going to damage the lives of Black people?
Folks, hold tight 1 second. When we come back, I told y'all Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was a fraud. Now we really know he's all about helping Donald Trump. We'll show you next on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
On a next A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie. How are you being of service to others? Doing for someone beside yourself is such a big part of living a balanced life. We'll talk about what that means, the generation that missed that message, and the price that we're all paying as a result.
Well, now all I see is mama getting up in the morning, going to work, maybe dropping me off at school, then coming back home at night. And then I really didn't have any type of time with the person that really was there to nurture me and prepare me and to show me what a life looked like and what service looked like.
That's all on a next A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, here at Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
This is Essence Atkins.
It's the Love King of R&B, Raheem Devon.
It's me, Sherry Shepherd, and you know what you watch.
You're watching Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
All right, y'all. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is supposedly running an independent campaign for president, even though his biggest donor is the biggest donor to Donald Trump. Well, today, this video dropped of a phone call between Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Donald Trump that was shot by Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s son. It was uploaded to the internet. Now, Kennedy Jr. has apologized for this leak, but thank goodness we now know exactly where he stands. Listen to this.
I agree with you, man. Something's wrong with that whole system. And, and it's the doctors you fight. Remember I said I want to do small doses. Small doses. When you feed a baby, Bobby, a vaccination that has like 38 different vaccines, and it looks like it's meant for a horse, not a 10-pound or 20-pound baby. It looks like you should be giving a horse this. And do you ever see the size of it, right? It's this massive. And then you see the baby all of a sudden starting to change radically. I've seen it too many times. And then you hear that it doesn't have an impact, right? But you and I talked about that a long time ago. And anyway, I would love you to do something. And I think it'll be so good for you and so big for you. And we're going to win. We're going to win. We're way ahead of the guy. And, he's interesting. He was very nice, actually. He called me. And he said, how did you choose to move to the right? So I guess that's, people say, if I was looking straight on, right? He said, I said, I was just showing a chart. I didn't have to tell him the chart was on all the people pouring into our country, right? But I just turned my head to show the chart. And something wrapped me. It felt like a giant, like the world's largest mosquito. And it was a bullet going around. What do they call that, an AR-15 or something? That was a big gun. Those are pretty tough guns, right?
All right, so that was that call there. What's interesting there, Mustafa, you hear Trump say, we're going to win. Kennedy goes, yeah. He offers Kennedy a job in his administration. I'm sorry, I thought Kennedy was also running for president. This is a con. It is a fraud. A vote for Robert Kennedy is a vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, we know that Kennedy wasn't serious. He didn't build the infrastructure that would be necessary to even be able to mount a real run. So, I'm for anybody who wants to run, you should have the ability to do it. But we should also use our brains to be able to evaluate if somebody has a serious chance, because our vote is incredibly important and it is incredibly valuable, and we shouldn't just give it away. I say folks should have to earn it, but we should also understand who has the ability to actually be a viable candidate or not. The other thing is that even though people say Trump's not smart, and yeah, he does some really incredible, stupid things, he also knows what buttons to push with individuals that flatters them, that makes them feel like they also, have the intelligence to have a conversation with him. And of course, for Kennedy, it is his long-standing, sets of conversations and actions around vaccines. So he pulls you in and makes you think that he actually values who you are and the things that you care about, and that he's an advocate there for you. And all along, he's playing you, So I'm just amazed that people are always sort of reeled in to this type of foolishness. But, folks have choices. And of course, we understand that Kennedy is supposed to be a spoiler. They understand that they only have to carve off certain percentages from each sets of communities to be able to be competitive. So folks just understand the game.
And Larry, listen, go to my iPad, Elise. Look, you see it right here. Republican donors, secretive groups are the ones trying to get Cornel West and Robert Kennedy on state ballots.
Yeah, so we know that, Roland, these elections at the federal level are one, based on an outline, right? It's outliers. You look at all these individuals, some of these low propensity voters, individuals don't vote every 4 to 2 years. Look, they just carve out a small percentage in states like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, et cetera. And that gets you the win. I think the other thing is you keep alive with Kennedy is from that, obviously we just see this recording and we know from him, he's an op. It's just that simple. I think the other thing is what's going to end up happening is it won't be a joke if he's in charge of the Office of Infectious Diseases or the FDA or some other important agency that really has a day-to-day impact on your lives. So the recording just reinforces everything we know about Kennedy. And if, like I said, once again, you better get out the vote, because I know we've been talking about Project 2025, but the policies they have planned for us, and as it relates to infectious diseases, vaccines, et cetera, listen, we just overcame a pandemic. And so we can't have like diseases like polio and other diseases that we essentially have gotten rid of here in the United States, allow those diseases to come back. And then we have to deal with children and other individuals who are negatively impacted.
Niambi?
I think Larry and Mustafa are right on with this. I mean, this conversation Donald Trump has been having for quite some time. He even, I think a few weeks ago, referred to Cornel West as his favorite because he takes 100% from Joe Biden and nothing from him. So these people are definitely there to move the needle. And as everyone's rightly pointed out, it doesn't mean that they have to take large swaths of the population, just enough to make the Joe Biden presidency less viable. And I think when we talk about someone like a Kennedy, who I think from the beginning, whose own family has said that he is not fit to be president, has come on the scene, there were lots of problems with his views. And when we think about just what he's had to say about COVID and vaccines more generally, when we think about the lives of Black people that have been lost, because many of us serve as the first line. We work in grocery stores as cashiers. We're bus drivers, right? We're those people. We're CNAs. Our lives are going to be severely impacted by a person like a Kennedy who doesn't believe in vaccines, considers them to be dangerous. And these people ultimately are seeking policies that are going to hurt us, because what people have to remember, all of these men are wealthy men. RFK is going to be fine when all is said and done. It's us that are going to pay the price for a person like him. So even entertaining him, giving him a modicum of credibility is dangerous. And he is already setting himself up to land softly, no matter whether Donald Trump wins or not. And like you said, he's clearly not campaigning to win. He hasn't really done anything to show he wants to win. He wants a position. And I think that person is more dangerous than a person who's sort of going it alone.
Absolutely. Hey, I want to show you all this new ad the Lincoln Project dropped regarding Project 2025. Check this out.
Welcome to the Trump 2024 Convention, brought to you by Project 2025. This week in the horrible city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, you'll see the best of the Trump Project 2025 party. It's a bold vision for a bright future. With Trump Project 2025, you'll love how new tariffs will make everything more expensive and set off runaway inflation. We know you'll appreciate paying for the big tax cut our struggling billionaires need. When you seniors are done freeloading, check out Project 2025's plan to end Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. So get out of that nursing home bed and get back to work. And ladies, this convention has so much in store for you. With Project 2025, you'll learn how good you'll have it in the kitchen. Girls, if your marriage isn't working out, you'll need Project 2025's helpful tips to keep the romance alive, even if he's abusive. Because we're getting rid of divorce. And if Mr. Wrong gets you pregnant, welcome to motherhood. Because we've ended Roe v. Wade, and we're going to criminalize birth control. And minorities, well, you didn't need those silly voting rights anyway. For you Jews, Muslims, Mormons, and other fake religions, you'll get a head start on learning America is a Christian nation. Project 2025 is Donald Trump's plan for your future, and it couldn't be any brighter.
Project 2025 Bright Future Guarantee applies to white evangelical Christian men only. Other conditions may apply. Offer not valid in a functioning republic.
You like that, Niambi?
I think it's clever. Project 2025 understands politics, they understand messaging, and they said it very well. And I think one of the things we have to remember, these people are not just white supremacists, they're Christian nationalists. And they have a vision of the world that they want to impose on the rest of us that have no bearing and no relationship to the Constitution that most of us know and understand. So these people absolutely want to make their religion the state religion. They were already started in places like Louisiana, and other places where they're putting the 10 Commandments in the classroom. I mean, these people will not stop until they reach a place that they think is acceptable in the eyes of the God that they serve. And I don't think that's a God that looks like most of the gods we serve. So this is dangerous.
Larry.
We mess around, the United States is going to be like a bad science fiction movie in a couple of months, Roland. This is not a joke. And, the Lincoln Project always does a really good job of messaging and reaching out to people. And I hope that particular, message is being delivered to individuals who might decide to vote for Donald Trump. But this is not a joke. And, some of those black and white stills you saw of decades going by, we could end up right back there in a couple of months if we're not careful.
Mustafa.
It makes you wonder, why is it that the Democrats haven't been able to create these types of educational messages that are very clear and to the point? And if you see that the Lincoln Project is able to do it, then maybe you need to start making investments in other places with those who can also share these very important lessons. It's interesting also, Project 2025, if you're from the street, you understand. It's telling you, I'm going to punch you in your mouth. And they're asking you, what are you going to do about it? And so we still have individuals who are willing to just take a step back and be like, well, it's going to be what it's going to be. No, it's going to be what it's going to be if you don't get engaged, if you don't vote. And not just vote, but really to think clearly about, what do you want the future of your community to look like? What do we can talk in the broader concept of what you want the country to look like, but everything starts at home. It starts in your community. And these folks are telling you that they are going to strip your rights away, that they are going to take resources away from you. Now, if somebody reached their hand in your pocket, would you just let them take the money out of it? Because that's exactly what you do when you don't vote, when you don't get engaged, when you don't educate yourself. You're saying, it's all right, go ahead and reach in there. Or you can do whatever you want with my family. Or you can tell me where I can live. Or you can tell me what I can and cannot eat, or what I can breathe. Can I breathe clean air because I need permission from you? And that's what this is really all about, and even more expansive. So we need to just wake up, and we need to get engaged.
Absolutely. And it's also not feeding to this nonsense. I don't know what Van Jones was thinking on CNN when he said that bald-headed child with a tattoo is somehow going to break up the Democratic coalition and just lead a mass of black people. Let me tell you something. Republican pollster Alex Castellanos just sent me this tweet. And he said, I'm not sure they do. Van Jones is concerned that the Democrats' black wall could crack. Not unreasonable to suspect that young black men are moving. I had to hit his ass back by saying, I've had black posters on. That's bullshit. But it's amazing how these people threw out nonsense on TV, Niambi, back with no data, no information at all.
Van Jones is a grifter. Let's just put it out there. He says what he thinks is a hot take that will give him some engagement online. Black people are not following Amber Rose. She is not anybody's model of black politics. This woman is just that. She's been the wife and the girlfriend of some famous rappers. She's an influencer of some sort, but this woman does not speak for black people. She does not speak to black people, and she certainly will not be the reason that there will be a mass exodus of black people from the Democratic Party or any other. So if they're banking on her to do anything, they should get their money back, because it's not going to happen. And Van Jones knows this is a bad take. I don't believe that he is this daft or this thick. Van Jones just says what he needs to say on TV, because this is foolish and ridiculous.
I mean, really, I mean, Amber Rose, Larry, come on.
So I'm going to miss something, Roland. I don't want to admit. I'm from Philly, just like Amber Rose. The difference is, I understand there's a long history of black activism from the city of Philadelphia. So I don't know what she's talking about.
She ain't it.
Consistent, like I said.
Yeah, she ain't.
Yeah, it's not.
Let's be real clear. Amber Rose ain't no James Baldwin. She ain't no Ruby Dee. She ain't no Ossie Davis. She ain't no Harry Belafonte. She ain't no Paul Robeson. She ain't no Stevie Wonder. Hell, she ain't no Kerry Washington. She can't even touch black folks in entertainment who've been involved in activism and politics.
Yeah, and it's just sad. I mean, you know, and the other thing about the Republican Party, they're always finding these black folks that are like C or D actors or entertainers. I don't know what it is, because they can't find black folks who actually have an idea about how dangerous these policies are and articulate it. Look, she got what she wanted, but what all it did was cost her soul. And so I've heard some of her story talking about being a single mother and all these other things, but what about her sons? I mean, this is real. This is going to impact their life if Donald Trump gets in office. And once again, once he gets what he wants, you know, she spoke yesterday. Once he gets elected, he's going to continue to strip all the rights away from women. And this is going to have a particularly negative impact on black women, these policies, this overtime rules and some of these other changes. Let's be clear about that. So it's a contradiction in terms. And like I said, as someone from Philly, I'm not claiming.
I just sit here and laugh, Mustafa, at somebody give a speech and it's like, oh my God, that was amazing. That was wonderful. Oh my God, Go ahead.
Well, you know, when you don't know any authentic black people, then yeah, that might sound like something to you. You know, it's interesting. Celebrity and privilege, as I've often said, is addictive, and you will do anything. Many people will do anything to hold on to it. And as Larry said, you'll even sell your soul. You'll sell the people out that you said that you are, you know, in alignment with, in solidarity with, to be able to, you know, continue to have the camera on you. You know, we are a brilliant people, but sometimes we don't slow down long enough to understand when people are trying to pimp us, when they are trying to use us. And the Republican Party, well, in the form and fashion that it is at this particular moment, has no problem not only in having a minstrel show, but also in trying to find ways to pimp us. They do it by making sure that they don't have the respective policies. They do it by getting into our back pockets and into our pocketbooks and purses and all these other types of things. And sometimes we're not paying attention. And that's why not only this network, but other folks who folks have trust in are so incredibly important to say, maybe you need to take and pay attention to what's going on here, or here's some information that you can then read and dissect and then start to make the decisions that will be beneficial for your community. So I'm very clear. Black folks is the only folks that can speak for black folks.
Period. End of conversation. Larry, Niambi, Mustafa, I appreciate y'all being on today's show. Thank you so very much. Folks, that's it for us. Be sure to support the work that we do here. Let me tell you something right now. I know BET got their interview today with President Joe Biden. They're going to air it tomorrow. I know Complex ran their interview with Joe Biden. But guess what? We were the only black media outlet that actually aired his NAACP speech. That's it. None of the rest of these people. Not these blogs, not BET, not Black Enterprise, not The Griot, not Blavity, not Essence, not Revolt, not TV One, not Urban One, not any of these folk. This is why this platform matters. Because see, you can't wait on mainstream media and some other black media folk who care more about entertainment than news and information to cover the stuff that matters to us. And so your support allows us to be able to do the work that we actually do. So you can see your check and money order. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037. That's 0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And of course, don't forget, download the Black Star Network. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. And folks, on Thursday, we're going to be in Atlanta with the International Machinists Union. Folks, I am 6 to 8 p.m. We're going to be at the IBEW Hall. If you want to attend, you can actually press this, this QR code right here if you want to attend the live broadcast. So we're going to be there on Thursday, 6 to 8 p.m. in Atlanta on Thursday. And so you see some of the panelists we're going to have here. Some of the Delta ramp workers. We're going to have some other folks who are going to be there as well. And so we're looking forward to our broadcast there in Atlanta. Again, taking place on Thursday. So on Thursday, I'll be in Atlanta for our special show. We're looking forward to that. And here are some of the folks who are going to be there with us as well. And that is Deborah Scott from Georgia Stand Up, Yvonne Brooks, Georgia AFL-CIO President, and also Richie Johnson, the IM Air Transport General Vice President. And so we're looking forward to that broadcast on the road on Thursday from Atlanta. And again, if you want to attend, you can attend, but you have to register. This is the QR code right here. So you can hold your phone up to the screen and actually click the QR code where you can register. All right, folks, got to go home, rest my voice. I hope it's fully back on Thursday. We're going to make it happen. I'll see y'all on tomorrow. Holla.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?